Good job.
Thank you.
Welcome. My microphone is working this month. For those of you who were around last month when it wasn't, and my guest host had to do everything, which was really sad. But I'm glad I had a guest host scheduled. Today we're talking about the Spring 22 release. Hopefully all of you guys have it already or have dove into it a little bit, read the release notes, geeked out on Trailhead, know something that there is a release at least. So I want to talk about some of my favorites and show them to Tracy because she's been, giving birth to twins for the last month and has no idea what's happening in the world.
And I'd like to know
in an
much.
adult world. And then we can unmute anybody and have you guys, we'll have a discussion about your favorite features and whatever else you want to talk about. Before I forget too, I already posted it on the events page, but next month we're planting trees as part of the Salesforce Trillium Tree Challenge. So if you are local here to San Diego, come join us, pitch in. It'll be super fun and a fun way to give back. We are still going to have next month's lunch and learn though too. So this will just be like an extra thing for Arbor Day because yay trees.
I totally plan on going and bringing the twins with me so that I don't actually have to help, but I'll be there. I'll just be like, oh, Christy, put it over there. Christy, right there.
I'll give them their first stickers. It'll be so exciting. Tracy, the first thing that I wanted to talk about, because I thought it was one of the most exciting things, I couldn't actually enable.
No!
So there's this new feature about finding the right report type for your reports, and let me share my screen.
Wait, what does that mean, finding the right report type?
So, when you go to create a new report, you select the report type that you want to use.
Oh, yeah.
So your contacts or accounts or opportunities or whatever. So what this would enable is, let me make this better. Is that a little bit better? It's the first cool thing about it is it's going to show you the report types that you most recently used and tell you when you used them. So maybe you have a project, you're analyzing tasks all week or activities or something, and you need to use the same report type, but you have 1,500 and you don't remember what you used. That's quick access. But then also, the coolest thing is if you click on that report type, it's going to tell you stuff about it. Like, one, what reports have you already created using that report type? What reports have other people used?
Have other people?
And then also,
and then the objects.
And you can look to see if the field you want to report on is even in there.
Oh my God.
I think that this is amazing because, like at our last company, we had 30,000 reports or something.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
Awful. And tons of duplicate report types too, where people are just like, I'm going to make a new report type because this doesn't have the field I want in it or something. And so I think that this will really help clean up or just avoid those types of situations.
I can't tell you how many service tickets I get where it's like, the user's like, I created this report, but the field isn't there. Why isn't the field there? And then it's like, oh, well, you used the accounts and evaluations report type that was relevant, 3 years ago. You needed to pick the third one down so that new field that we just made last month actually appears. So this is freaking sweet. This is very exciting.
I tried to play with it so hard, and I kept going to the settings page because it's like, just go there, and there's this checkbox that you can check, and it was not there. And I tried it 3 different orgs, and then this morning I saw this little note for access, a support ticket.
Why do they have that? That's right up there with territory management. Territory management, you have to submit a support ticket before the checkbox appears to enable it. It's what? Why?
It's so weird. I mean, it says that this is in beta, and it just must be in super duper beta. But I'm super excited about this feature. I'm going to be watching it and
This is especially great for end users because like just the frustration that they feel because, you either have legacy admins or you had consultants in who weren't paying attention, or you just had a really tired admin who just gave birth to twins who like made a duplicate custom report type again. But like this is exciting because I would say I get these kinds of tickets weekly where it's like I made the report, I know what I'm doing, this is frustrating, and it almost like it brings down the love of Salesforce because those super users that you have are like, why is this working? So this is awesome. And I'm almost wondering like how this will evolve. Like I'm kind of hoping the evolution of this goes to we're showing this now, maybe in the future, at least from an admin side of things, we can show you, hey, you have 3 custom report types that are all sharing.
That are identical.
That are identical. This one has 16 reports related to it. This has 0 because it's a garbage custom report type. Do you want to delete it? I hope that it goes like that evolution goes in that direction because cleaning up reports in any org, it's not just like the number of reports, it's the number of custom report types that you have that also just like bring things down. So this is exciting. I love this.
I'm excited that you're excited because I was excited.
That was good.
Okay, I have another reporting thing to show you. So you remember, I don't remember if it was the last release or the one before that when we did a release party. And I showed you inline editing, and you were like, "That's dumb."
Oh yeah, how I thought it was dumb as hell, and I was like, "Garbage."
Yeah. Let me tell you a report here. So
that was something like that you build like after a couple cocktails, where you're like, "I have this genius idea," and you go into a dev org, and like it seems brilliant when you're a little, but then the next morning you're like, "This is trash." So it better be approved.
So, if you'll recall, when they first rolled this out, you could only edit like one thing at a time, and then it would save it, and the whole report would run again, and it was like a super slow teeth pulling process.
Because if you have more than like 10 pieces of data in your org, what's the point?
Yeah, like you mean if there were more than 2 accounts in your in your org? That's crazy. Well, now, like very similar to inline editing in a list view, you can edit whatever you want on the page and then 72 and then commit it all together, which saves time. It does make it more like a list view. So I don't know how they're like. I feel like the line is thinning between list views and reports for sure. So, but anyways, I feel like. No, go ahead.
This is better. Like in a list view, can I do like check them all and like change all of their ratings to hot and then hit save?
Yeah, no, you can't do that in the report. It's not a checkbox up here above the column.
Okay, so it's better.
It's better, but it's still not everything.
Now, does this work? Here's a follow-up question for you. It's still, it doesn't have the checkbox like a list view does, but let's say I was doing a report on multiple objects, like opportunities and accounts. And I had like opportunity fields and I had account fields. Would I be able to make changes to the account fields and the opportunity fields in one save from that report? Because if that's the case, then that's super cool. Because list views, you're only doing it on one object, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I'll have to play with that and come back. But yeah, that makes sense that you would.
Because I can then see that as being a huge improvement.
Yeah.
Because how many times do you get a user who's like, hey, I'm looking at this opportunity list view and I'm updating all of these, but I need to update something on the account. How can I do that from the list view? And you have to go, you can't.
Yeah. Well, I think the other good thing here, and Michelle mentioned it in the columns, like in a list view, you can only do inline editing if you have a record type specified in your list view filter. And I don't have any record type specified here. Like I can just do it. So
that's true. Okay.
I just want
this is gotten better.
In the pro column.
Okay. No, this is no longer garbage. Like I said last release, I'd use it.
I think
now
it's too fast.
What was that?
I think they just released it too fast.
Probably.
They didn't give us enough in the first place.
Yeah, they shouldn't have released. Now, is this automatically enabled, or do I have to do something as an admin in order to?
There's a check. Oops, I didn't want to do that. There's a checkbox in the reports and dashboards settings.
Okay.
To enable it, which means though that it's enabled org-wide. It's not like you can have your best people do inline editing in a report. It's everybody. It's all or nothing. So.
Okay, so you can't like make it enabled and then put it into a permission set and only give it to some people. It's all or nothing.
Yeah, it's an org-wide setting.
Okay, all right, good to know.
But I still think it's cool.
No, it's definitely it's cool. It's worthy.
While we're talking about reports and dashboards, I have to mention some Tableau CRM stuff. Otherwise, it wouldn't be me.
I was gonna say.
So there's 3 things I want to show you, and that's it. I promise, and I will mention it. I will mention it again, but probably.
I'm holding you to 3 things you say.
And this first one is super quick because I didn't have time to put together a proper example. But there's this new component, which we don't get very often. So it's really cool. It's a repeater widget. So these 2 things are actually pulling from the same query. It's just a table, rows with columns in it. But in your normal table, it looks like this. With the repeater component, you can make that same data look more interesting. And this looks terrible because I made it last night at like 11:30. But you can see how you can make it look more interesting. So inside of this, you can use all of these widgets. You can add pictures or charts or numbers or text and like really make these things look pretty and nice, which I wish I would have had for, I don't know, the last 5 years, because it's really, I can see the value of it.
Yeah, because you're simplifying your build time essentially.
For sure, and it's making it more consumable for your users. It's really hard to stare at a table full of data, but if I add a chart and even just break it up into different cards like this, it just like helps me.
Yeah.
Tell my story.
Okay, that one's cool.
The next thing is collections. Well, no, let me show you the data manager first, because with collections I'll have to leave. So there's a new version of the data manager, and it actually opens inside of a Lightning tab, which I think is pretty cool. And I think it means that they're trying to move more analytic stuff inside of the platform rather than being separate in Analytics Studio.
Okay.
And the coolest thing about this is, if you've not used Tableau CRM before, you had like basically one tab with a list of your last 9,000 jobs that ran or something. There could be errors and warnings or successes, and you just had to scroll forever to see or to find them. And now they've added these tabs across the top so that you can filter those down and actually see what's currently running or what's in the queue or what failed. So that's super helpful.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And then they've also added other things like your usage, so you can see how many rows you're pulling into Tableau CRM, if you're writing back to Salesforce, or if you're writing to a CSV or something, what those look like.
Oh, dang. I like the output to Salesforce.
Yeah, I think that's cool. I think that they probably did that in conjunction with like the Salesforce data pipelines, because people are writing back and forth all the time, and they need to be able to see that.
I like that.
Okay, my last thing about Tableau CRM, maybe, is collections. So collections came out a couple of releases ago too. And there's 2 things about collections that I love. One, you can share a specific view of your dashboard to a collection now. So if I have a sales dashboard, I can pre-filter it for North America and share that saved filter in a collection, which saves people clicks. But also, I can embed this collection on I put it somewhere on a lightning record page or just lightning page in general. So you'll see that collection shows up here. So just like easier access for people to find the dashboards that I want them to be seeing inside of where
So
they
for
are.
like your North America sales teams, they have a collection of dashboards that they always, save the links to or bookmark or forget that they have. And so you could make the collection, put this on their homepage, and it's all right there versus, your EMEA sales team or your service teams. They could have different collections that you could then pin for them.
Yes.
Okay.
Now,
I like that.
One thing with this though, my edit page button keeps disappearing.
You're in a dev org.
It's really hating me. There's one just like limitation with this. Well, I don't think they wouldn't consider it a limitation, but I consider it a limitation, and it's the first release of this. But if I click on this component in the designer, it gives you a note that it's only going to show the first collection from your user's list of collections. So if I have more than one collection shared with me, this is only going to show the first one in the list.
Oh no.
Which I think is a little weird, but if you just remember that that's a thing, then I guess.
So you'd have to either only share one collection with your users, or they're creating service tickets where it's like, on my homepage, why am I seeing this? Okay.
Yeah, just make sure that the one that they like have pinned in their analytics studio is the one that they want to be able to find elsewhere, maybe.
But that's individual to them, right?
Yes, I definitely foresee that growing in the next release.
Okay.
Michelle asked, how do you find your data flows? Oh, let's see. I want to say I also spotted that this was missing, and I had to go back to the normal data manager. Yeah, because they only show you recipes for some reason. I think that you just have to go back to the normal data manager, Michelle, which is probably why you left it there so that you could get to all of your stuff. It's super weird.
That's their data.
It's super weird that they would release it because like data flows are literally the only thing that's not in the beta version.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
All right. Before we move on from analytics, I do have a question for you because I consider you an analytics master. You've taught yourself. You're definitely my go-to person when I have any questions. But not everybody has analytics yet or Tableau CRM. And I think we got to start like addressing, like it seems like it's becoming more mainstream in the Salesforce product line.
Because it's awesome.
Well, it is awesome, but like I can say, like for my org, we don't have it yet. We are testing it, but it's not a product that we have. What would you say is like the determining factor in, having the conversation with your boss or the powers that be about getting this additional tool? Because it is an additional cost, and I'm just like, how do you weigh the options? Is it based on how much data you have? And are you like, would you consider how much clean data you have before you try and have this discussion? Because there's a lot of new cool stuff coming, but
nobody has clean data. I wouldn't say that it's about how much data you have. I would say if you have data that lives in other places. So if you have data that's somewhere else that's not in Salesforce that you need to be able to look at or combine with your Salesforce data without bringing it in, or if you have gone as far as you can possibly go with your opportunity report and Steve Mo can't help you anymore with any summary formulas, and you just need to be able to do more advanced things, then you're going to need a BI tool. And that doesn't have to be Tableau CRM. It's the best one, obviously, that you should get. But it could also be actual Tableau. It could be Power BI. It could be whatever that Amazon one is. Like it could be anything where you can pull in, extract data, and start manipulating it. You mentioned clean data.
Yes.
And I mentioned that no one
Something
has
we all
clean
strive
data. It is what we should all be striving for. Having a BI tool will help you clean your data because it becomes very apparent how many fields are empty, how many don't have accurate things. So I would say if you're working towards clean data, then a BI tool will help you with that also. So maybe that's like where you draw the line when you're starting to notice that wow, our data's crap. Let's get a tool that will help us with that.
That's fair.
Also, Tableau CRM is amazing. Everybody should learn it, and it's my best friend.
So we have a question from Chris Hunter who says, what about Tableau versus Tableau CRM?
So Tableau is more powerful. It can do a million different things. It has a million more connectors than Tableau CRM. They're starting to, since the acquisition of Tableau, they're starting to bake in a lot of Salesforce functionality. So if you would have asked me this question, I don't know, 6 months ago or something, I would have been like, the benefit of Tableau CRM is that it lives on top of Salesforce. You can launch quick actions and flows or change the owner of records from a dashboard. But now you can also do that in actual Tableau. So the lines are definitely thinning. I think Tableau CRM is probably a lower learning curve for people, especially for an admin who's familiar with Salesforce, just because the design of it is familiar. You know, it's all Lightning experience. Tableau is, like I said, going to be way more powerful. You can use a lot more languages. You can write a Python script if you want to in Tableau. You can't do that in Tableau CRM. So,
okay, I have more questions. Well, it's like a two-parter. No. Yes, it's a two-parter, one question. Okay. You know how we love Salesforce and they like to rebrand themselves constantly, and we're constantly trying to stay up to speed on what it's called. Yeah. You know how it used to be Wave, and then Wave went to whatever, and then Einstein. Is Einstein Analytics now Tableau CRM? Is Einstein Analytics no longer a thing? Okay.
Yeah.
But
oh my
Tableau
God.
CRM, is their mascot still Einstein?
Yeah, it is. Einstein is like the mascot of all of Salesforce Analytics. I saw on LinkedIn the other day from the Tableau CRM product managers, they are circulating a survey about whether or not to rename Tableau CRM.
Jesus Christ!
Oh. Anyway, let's move on from Tableau CRM.
Let's move on. Okay.
Okay. The next thing I put on my list that I can't show you because I really truly know nothing about it, but I'm very interested in, is the orchestrator stuff, where you can like group different flows together to make this like mighty process that could include automated or manual steps, and it's just like amazing. Let me find that. And they're putting a lot of money into this. Look at all these features just for orchestration in this release. It's like huge. And I think that we should do like a user group session just on Orchestrator, just so that I can learn about it and everyone else too. But just because you love Flow and I love Flow and I love the Flow HANA, I think that this is like a natural progression. But we were talking with Mark just before we kicked off the meeting. Mark has been doing a lot of orchestrator sessions, so maybe we can lean on him to do this. But he also brought up some use cases around user provisioning that might be cool, where there might be manual steps and automated steps, and they're like jumping around from point to point before that process is complete.
So that'll be exciting. But like, okay, so I have a couple questions with Orchestrator. Like, it's been mentioned multiple sessions by product managers, like, oh, Orchestrator's coming. You know, it's like some Salesforce prophet coming down from the heavens to bless us all with what it can do, right? But to that end, I'm kind of confused on what Orchestrator actually does. So Orchestrator is not something to help you consolidate workflow rules and process builders into Flow, correct?
Correct. And it's
okay,
not.
So at its most like general description, what is Orchestrator helping with?
I think that based on the Orchestrator Basics Trailhead module that I did
Nice.
last
Okay,
night
there's a trailhead on it.
on
Yay.
Trailhead Go in Bed, um, it helps you group your end-to-end process that may or may not have automated and manual steps. So, like one of the use cases that resonated with me since I'm a Service Cloud junkie was a case is created that triggers the orchestration. There's a couple background flows that run automated, and then it creates a work item for someone to triage this case manually. That person finishes that work item, and then another flow happens or it gets sent off to someone else. It's really just like tracking and managing your work, I think, until that process is finished.
So like if I had let's say like close on the opportunity, because opportunities be opportunities, and I have a before save flow and then I have an after save flow, and I'm trying to add like additional steps, or I'm trying to see how the process works because we want to add additional complication into it, right? I would open up Orchestrator. Sorry, I would open up Orchestrator, and then I could see those flows and like when those actions occur, and then I could like make decisions from there.
No, I don't think so.
Damn it!
I don't think you're on the right track. I think we need to learn more about this, but I'm just like excited about it because it seems like the next big thing.
It does. Like it's mentioned a lot, but I have yet to see it like really used. Like the visuals that I see of it, it seems like they are, taking what they got from like the platforms that they purchased, Pardot and whatnot. Like it gives it like that kind of like engagement studio vibe, and so it looks super cool. But I haven't seen anything beyond that.
I think that this is what you want. The next thing on my list, which is the Flow Trigger Explorer. And this is what's going to show you everything that's firing on a thing.
Ooh, sorry. Mark is saying just to know, Orchestrator at this time only allows you to include screen flows and auto launched flows. You can include decision elements through to spread things. Oh, interesting. All right, Mark, you're totally going to teach us.
Mark's going to teach us. So this Flow Trigger Explorer, I was really excited
about. Flow
about.
Trigger Explorer, I'm so sorry.
No.
So sorry. I have 2 questions about Orchestrator. One, is it an additional cost, or is it going to be in every org?
I think that it's available.
Okay. And then is it beta right now, or is it GA?
It's GA.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Because it's been out for several releases, and we've just been ignoring it because we didn't know what to do with it yet.
Which is where I currently still stand.
Yeah. We're going to figure it out, though. Cool. We'll come up with a use case that will help you manage your infants, and it'll be great.
That'd be great. Perfect. All right, show me Flow Trigger Explorer.
Thank you. Flow Trigger Explorer. We've talked about this lots of times. You need to create a new flow for something. You don't want to go through the list of all the ones that exist already. You don't know what else is happening to this record, particularly for like maybe new admins coming into an org or someone who just didn't work on that project. I think this is really great. So you can select an object. You can do a count because these are the only 2 things I have in this org. And then you can also filter by created, update, or delete it to get all different flows. And then it's going to show you everything that's active. It also shows inactive flows in this list. And there's a lot you can do. So you can click on the title to just open the flow in another tab. Or you can click this and it'll show you all your different versions and stuff. So you can quickly like reactivate a different one or deactivate this one.
Oh my gosh.
Which I think is really great. I think it'll save people a lot of time. And I think that it only shows flows in here at the moment. So like if you had process builders or something, which are also technically flows, but not, I don't think that those would show here. But since they're pushing everyone into flow anyways, eventually when all your stuff is in flow, you would be able to see like the full life cycle of your triggers here.
It would be cool if for the time being it had the workflow rules and the process builders in there, because Yeah, as like a debugging experience, I'm always like, okay, first I have to look at the workflow rules, see what's active, could that be affecting it? Then I have to go into the process builders, and process builders are not necessarily named truthfully, and so I have to look at the individual nodes, and then I have to look at the flows. Is your sound okay? It looks like you're having issues.
I can't hear anything.
That could be me. No, my blue, I'm lighting up. Uh-oh. Well, while Christy can't hear me, can people confirm that, one, you can hear me, and if you can hear me, then I'll start talking smack about Christy. Oh, good, you can hear me. Let's talk smack about Christy. Let me think. Oh, shit, she can hear me. Christy's the pretty, no, she can't hear me yet. Okay, so this one embarrassing story about Christy. Let me tell you guys. We were at Disneyland, right? You can't hear me yet. You can't hear me yet. So we were at Disneyland, okay? And this one, she's not the greatest with heights, right? We take her kid to Disneyland because you can't go as adults to Disneyland without a kid. I mean, you can, but like, I just don't have that kind of confidence, right? I like having a kid.
Can you hear me?
Like,
I'm good, I'm back.
I wasn't talking to any embarrassing stories about you.
Oh, Mark is here. Hi, Mark. I don't know when my earbuds cut out, but they did. Was I just talking and no one could hear me?
I was just saying Flow Trigger Explorer seems really cool, but I do wish that I could see the workflow rules and process builders in there. Because when I am going through debugging, I still have to check those areas.
Yeah, but I think eventually, as people shift into using flows, then this will become more valuable for sure. Which
and this is super cool
is
right
actually
now.
I mean, this is the first iteration of this, and I think it's amazing. And it can only go up from here.
Like, I can imagine iterations that come after this is like, it almost like shows you, especially on the details section, like, okay, you have all of these things going. This is the speed at which it's going. And then you can find, the flows that are taking, and like improve those. Like, that would be cool. I mean, I already love that I can look at these flows and quickly deactivate. That's awesome.
Yeah. I love it. Okay, so your concern about seeing your workflow rules and stuff is actually my next thing.
Oh, okay.
So we finally got a converter to Flow. It's convert your workflow rules to Flow, not convert everything to Flow, but it's
okay. It's a start.
So you'll see, like, on your workflow landing page here, we now have this giant yellow banner that's like, hey, migrate all your stuff, and encouraging people. And if you click new rule, we now have this prompt like, hey, you should probably create it in Flow instead.
Can I just say, I wish the prompt was a little bit more threatening. Like, okay, don't get me wrong. Like, this is nice. This is very polite. But like, these kinds of back-end warnings for us admins, developers, admin developers, architects, like, I respond well to colors. I respond well to emojis. Like, threaten me with a good time. It's like when you change like the label of a field label and you get that warning, like, hey, this will affect your mail merge fields, and you go, I don't care, GTFO, and you just click save anyway. Like, it's a non-threat. Versus if you made it a little bit more pizzazzy.
Threatening.
Yes.
Colorful. Added crying emojis.
Yeah, like,
red
I understand
face emoji.
crying emojis on the user side of things, like, especially if it's like a very like financial or health, or you want to maintain professionalism. But on the back end, it's people like us. Come on,
emojis everywhere.
But okay, workflow rules, it does give you a very polite warning that we'll all ignore. Fine.
Yeah, and then if you actually go into your workflow rules, so this is a very important workflow that I created last night that does dumb things.
Nice field update. Okay.
Yeah. So if you click the migrate your workflow rules to Flow, I can select my really important workflow rule that I have and click the migrate to flow button, and it puts it in flow for me. So if I go test in flow builder, this is my workflow rule. So it has the same entrance criteria, my priority equals high. It told me that it was going to optimize it as a before save flow, since it's just doing a field update, which is really great because I think some people still struggle trying to choose between the two, and the fact that it just tells you, then that's cool. And then it, has my field update here. The one thing that I did notice though is if you don't, if you ignore that and move on, it doesn't deactivate your workflow for you automatically. So you'll have to remember to go back and do that, or I haven't pushed this button yet. I'm just going to push it. Okay, so I've activated my flow, and let's see if it deactivated it did. Perfect. So if you push the button, it activates your flow, it deactivates your workflow rule, but you have to remember to push it or remember to go deactivate your workflow rule so you don't have flows and workflow rules doing the same thing.
So the first step is you hit the test button, and then it converts it for you. And if you like it, essentially you hit save. Mm-hmm. And then switch activations means deactivate the whole workflow rule, activate the new flow that you just tested.
Yeah. Another thing that I noticed, which I don't know how I feel about yet, is I've migrated the same workflow rule like 3 times just because I was playing with it, and it always created a new flow. So I'm wondering if I had like 5 case workflow rules here, is it going to make me 5 flows, or would it evaluate if there's an existing case flow to add it to type thing? So I'll have to play with that, but
it's probably going to make new flows.
Probably.
The other thing that I want to point out about this, it's kind of interesting. Test the new flow and then switch activations. It's cool and all, but it's kind of giving me the vibe that you're building in production, isn't it? Right? Because that should not be the case. Switch activations. It's just giving me a weird vibe because I do this in Sandbox, and then the second that new flow is made in Sandbox, I'm pushing that over to production, and there's no option to switch activations there. I'd have to go and deactivate the workflow.
Yeah. That's true. The language there is kind of confusing.
The language there is, yeah. What are you trying to encourage, Salesforce?
Oh my God. Okay, I have 2 more things and we're running out of time.
Sorry. It's just you're showing cool stuff. God.
Let me go back to you. So I wanted to show the Omni Supervisor Console because you can see offline people here now instead of just online people. Before, you could only see your agents that were online, and then you were like, well, I have to remember that Sally's not working or that she's supposed to be working, but I don't see her on my list or whatever. Now you can see everybody here, which I think is super helpful. And that's a request that I often got from my support managers, like, how can I see my whole team? And so this solves that, which is great.
Now, with the status of online or offline within Omnichannel, that's the responsibility of the user to say if they're online or offline.
Yeah, so when you log into Omnichannel, you select the presence status that you want to be. So you can't really like cheat this or work the system in any way. You're either offline, you're busy, or you're available for something, whether that's cases or chat or messaging or whatever.
Okay. And then just because I'm curious and I'm wondering if you've played with it at all, with the status on Omnichannel, is there the ability to add some automation around that? Have you ever tried?
What do you mean?
Well, like, I'm just thinking, like, you know how Salesforce, wants us to embrace our chatter profiles, and like, there's like the cute out of office that you can put on your chatter profile. Like, what if you were in an org that fully embraced chatter in its profiles? Every person, there was no like astro gray avatar, like everybody had their face there and updating their profile. And so like when somebody goes on vacation and then your out of office appears in Salesforce, could you create an automation, like if they're a service agent that says, okay, if I see that they're out of office here, it updates them to offline. So when a service manager is looking at the queue, they can easily see their total number of service agents and easily see.
I see what you're saying. So you can see everyone here who has a service resource record. Maybe a potential solution for automation around that would be to make their service resource record inactive during their vacation time or something like that off the top of my head. I don't know, but I understand where
you see where I'm going with it. Yeah,
I see.
Okay, that was my only question. But it's very cool.
So then the only other two things that I wanted to talk about, which I can't show and I don't even have like release notes to show or anything, was the revenue intelligence app that they came out with is, and I tweeted it a whole bunch of times, sexy AF. It's magical and amazing. It's an extra cost, which I don't know if anybody else picked up this vibe, but like everything in the Sales Cloud release readiness was like an added SKU, which I thought was super unfortunate. Like seriously, everything they talked about was an added SKU. Like it was an additional product. They were all really, really awesome, but it was all extra, which, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And then Pipeline Inspector, which you know I love. I can't actually play with it anymore because this customer I'm working with has an enterprise edition and I've been spoiled by an unlimited edition. Pipeline Inspector is only available in performance and unlimited orgs. It makes me sad. Like I can't even play with it in the dev org. No. So sad. But they're doing such cool things with those tools and like really pushing prioritizing your pipeline and working your pipeline, and it's just dope. I just want to play with it.
If you have performance or unlimited, is Pipeline Inspector automatically have it, or is it an additional SKU?
It's included. It's just a permission set.
Oh man! All right, so anybody in this group, if you have unlimited or performance, and you want to, host one of these meetings one day, or just be a part of it, we'd love to see your org and see Pipeline Inspector.
Oh, that would be amazing. Okay, well, I talked forever. Sorry. What are other people's favorite features that I did or didn't mention? I'll make you a person. Or actually, why don't I just make everybody?
I assume there's more cool things related to Flow because Flow is the future.
Flow is the future.
Cool. I like that.
I'm just going to turn everybody on.
Language, Christy.
Oh, sorry. Anybody?
Mark likes the order of execution update.
I was going to also say the dynamic forms. I feel like they've been teasing that for at least a year now, that we can finally do on Lightning record pages. And I feel like, as Tracy and Christy know, in our last org, we could have used that last year, which would have been nice. But I think that's a nice little benefit.
Is that finally available for all objects?
I don't think it was all objects yet, but I think it's more generally available than what it was previously.
Why can't they make it available on the standard objects?
I don't know.
Do I give the political answer to that one? Because I do know that answer.
Yeah.
All right, Mark, let's see it.
Yeah. Long story short, it's because every single standard object has its own team that manages and develops that for its bespoke functionality. So there's a lot of other hoops that they have to jump through behind the scenes to get it working. So it's basically all like to kind of all of those hoops. The dynamic forms team has said if they could get through all those hoops, they would have it like have it done like as quickly as they can. But they've got to go through all these other like tests and checks and all of that. So it's the pain of having to work with
6 releases before.
So maybe in 5 or 6 years.
Hopefully, yes. But yeah, it was just so easy to do with custom objects. That's why they did it first, because they only had to liaise with one other team.
Yeah, that makes sense. Now that you say that.
Breaks my heart, though.
Makes me cry a little bit.
Yeah, it's just one of those things I wish they would have like kind of made a bit more public, because I only found out because I had a chat with one of the PMs on the team. And I went, can I ask, why not standard objects yet? And the poor guy was like, Don't ask.
But now that we know this, we can apply pressure to the PMs of the other teams and be like,
Yeah.
Hey, we'll start a Twitter hashtag or whatever. I'm totally with it, guys.
You should just create a whole new handle and call it Dynamic Forms, and let's just mention Mark every day and be like, Mark, what is going on?
Sure, he'll really appreciate that.
Like this movement, yes.
Yeah.
Like
I to be fair, I haven't had any updates since the summer last year, so I'm as much in the dark about it at the moment, behind the scenes, as everybody else is. But
Sad.
that,
We should start like a GoFundMe for Dynamic Forms.
get onto the idea exchange, just upvote all their ideas. They've got like an idea for every single standard object. Go bring dynamic forms into this. So if you upvoted, if everybody upvotes that, it might give them potentially some push.
But we know how fast the ideas from the idea exchange go. Like I have stuff that I voted on from like 12 years ago that I'm like, any day now.
Actually, I mean, just look at one of the ones I saw, which was one of my favorite things, was the address field, make it down to a standard field, and that got knocked back twice. So it was meant to come out in winter 21, I think it was. It got knocked back to the winter release last year, and it's been knocked back again.
No.
So we don't know, and we don't know. But that's
Are you kidding me?
No.
This is upsetting.
Another
I've been
thing.
on the idea for 10 years beforehand.
Oh my God, that's too long. Another thing that I heard a lot of during the release readiness webinars was improvements to emailing within Salesforce. And I asked on Twitter, like, with all these cool things you're doing, when can we have a real email signature? Like a real HTML email signature. And the product manager sent me like that old help article where you have to go to this whatever and it's all shady and dumb. And I was like, no, I mean a real one. Like, why can't you just put a text editor in there and this is your signature? Makes me sad.
Yeah, that would make it so much easier. Because I mean, when I've done that on, I used to just code that into email alerts and do all via HTML coding.
Yeah.
Which is not the ideal solution.
Yeah. It seems like such a basic thing that it's just not there. I don't understand. But that's okay. Well, I mean, this release is packed with a million other things. I only counted the Tableau CRM ones, of course, but there were like 59, I think. And there were at least like 20 orchestrator things alone. So, I mean, if you haven't read through the release notes, do that. There's also the Trailhead module that just gives you like an overview of each cloud and the enhancements that were made. So I recommend doing all those. Don't forget, if you're local, come plant trees with us next month. And then also just sneak peek for next month's user group meeting. We're going to have some community members and some recruiters on as kind of a panel to talk about how to network and promote yourself and how to get a job. And we'll talk about like compensation expectations, all sorts of cool stuff that really came out of last month's Google workshop that we did about promoting yourself and being
Know
awesome.
your worth.
Know your worth. Hashtag know your worth. So thanks for coming. We'll see you.
Thanks for inviting us.
Thank you,
You're welcome,
guys.
Christopher.
Bye.
Bye. Hi, Mark.